Podcast City Network. The Everett Lee Show.
Welcome to the first episode of the Everett Lee Show for 2021. I am back. Went back to my roots for these 4 new episodes you'll hear this month in February. Audio podcast. My video software crashed the 4 times I tried to use it, and it did with this first new episode of 2021. I know it's February, month already went by of 2021. A lot of stuff happened. During the course of the new episodes you're going to hear for this month, you'll hear why and what I've been doing with my time off since October 2020. I went on a hiatus, burnt the candle at both ends, had to stop. And that's what I did. I had to take a break. Everything got to me. Burnt the candle at both ends. It was time to take a break, recharge myself, and I'm back for new episodes of the Everett Lee Show, starting today with this new episode. And before I do mention the guest on this episode, I do want to thank everyone that did reach out and contact me to see how things were with me. I appreciate it. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, followers of the Everett Lee Show, and those who follow the network that I'm on, Podcast City Network. Thank you, Chris and Craig, for everything that you do. The amazing Amazon, Natasha Crane. I had her on last year. Great episode I had, and it was fitting to make 2021 starting out amazing. I asked the amazing Amazon, Natasha Crane, to come back onto the program. We started out doing the video recording of this, and it crashed. So I clicked on the audio and just went straight audio. Much easier to handle, less restraints. Natasha talks about what she's been doing. You're going to hear during last year when the pandemic hit, the COVID-19, how it affected her bookings as a worker. You also hear us discuss how we've been handling this and what we've been doing with our time. Also, I talk about a couple or 3 matches, 2 or 3 matches with Natasha that I enjoy, that I go back to and watch because I just love how she works in the ring. She's amazing. That's why she's amazing Amazon. So without further ado, let's get on the conversation with the amazing Amazon, Natasha Crane. All right. Some technicality. So we're going straight audio. The video software crashed in the middle of this conversation. I am sorry, Natasha. But thank God we got backup with audio.
Well, they got to see my beautiful face for a few minutes, so that's all they get. That's all they get. That's all they're worth. Come see me in person.
Before everything crashed and took a shit here, we were talking about your matches. Another match I watched was from Southwest there. I watched a couple matches there. I watched one again with you and Nikki Wolf. I love that match. I loved it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the only times that we had a singles. I'd love to have another one. You know, if she's ready to get her ass beat again, I'm all for it.
Yeah, What I love about that match, I went back to watch it again because now understanding more of the psychology with wrestling, like we were talking about. It's just when you came out there, the crowd was already against you, but then she came out, they were all for Nikki, and she was the underdog in this one. She definitely was, because it was speed and agility versus strength, and you showed power. And I still love the part where she tries to pick you up and tries to body slam you. It's like, nah, that's not gonna work. I love that. And I love how when you send her off the ropes, you give her the big boot to the face, man, and then the leg drop. I mean, I love that. And just how you guys, both of you, worked each other in the corners, because she started getting the upper hand, and then all of a sudden it's like you come back, you power just take her down.
I just grab, throw in the corner, like, no, you're taking all of this. You're taking all of this.
That's what I love about it. That's what I love about that match there. Yeah, just the power. You show off your power, and she shows off her strength and agility. But still, I still love the outside interference when that happens. Just
back in the day where I had lackeys, right?
Yeah.
Now I got to do it all on my own.
I love that. I love that, and it plays. You play good to the crowd. I love your work. I love your work because the strength and the power that you show, and then when you have lackeys, you use
it makes
them.
my day easier. I don't have to spend so much energy. Yeah, let's keep it at
that. Yeah, it's good to have lackeys, but sometimes when the ref finally turns around, he catches them. Yeah, but
I'm like, you got to be faster.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely gotta be faster. But I watched the tag match you had there with the I forget who it was. It was the 2-on-2 there, and your partner left the ring. She left the ring there.
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah,
Moxie.
Like, I was getting the boots put to me, and she's just like, "Nah, I'm good." So yeah. I'm like, "Screw you then."
Yeah, it was Moxie. I think it was. Yeah, Moxie. Yeah.
Karma.
Yeah, she left, and you what's her name ended up getting. She ended up getting her partner turned on her. You left already, and you came back with the steel chair, and the crowd went crazy and stuff. And just another example of like how the crowd was into the match there. They're for you or they're not for you, and I love that.
Well, for that match, it was the height of the SCW Southland and ARW. So you had Mel and Casey Dillon on the ARW side, and me and Karma on the SCW side, and that whole show was just one side against the other, and we didn't know how long it was going to last. Right. It lasted for a good year. I mean, and then it came to a head, like at one of the last shows we had, and everyone loved it. Everyone ate it up. They had fun with it. They're like, we want more of this. So I was even happy with it. I'm like, everything is good right now.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love that. I definitely love that there. I mean, just going back through looking because you had a couple matches that were like 10 months old, but nothing else was been updated here lately because again with everything that was been going on with COVID and with the wrestling and stuff. I mean, hell, I ended up getting ended up there for the summer. I got a commentary gig. I got to do commentary for Knockout Wrestling here in Florida.
Oh, sick, dude, for real?
Yeah.
Nice.
I got to do commentary. Chris Carnage, he did it with me. He did a few episodes. I think we did about 8 episodes of Knockout TV, but the first 4 Chris wasn't with me because he ended up for that show we did the first 4 episodes for that show that we that I did the commentary for. Chris was supposed to. He ended up getting he got COVID. He ended up getting COVID. Yeah. He couldn't do. Yeah, so we couldn't do it. So we had a fill in. I had a fill in with me, and we knocked it out of the park. And then Chris got better. He came back and did the remainder of the shows with me, and then that lasted until about October, and at the beginning of October. So that pretty much came and went. That's a long story for a different time and day, but
Right.
just, had a mutual part. And then I'm sitting there with all that going on. I get the news that towards like October, at the end of October, my best friend, my wife, it was on a Sunday. We're sitting there and I'm watching a movie, and she just like over on the other couch there, and she's like, "Oh my God!" It's like, "What?" And she said a good friend of ours that we've known for like 10 years, it's like Dion, is in the hospital. I was like, "What?" It's like he had a heart attack. I'm like, "No." And then she's scrolling on Facebook there, and she had the phone. I will never forget this. She dropped the phone, and she just started breaking down, and she's like, "Dion passed away." My heart, like, just fell to my stomach. I'm like, "What?"
Right.
I was like, "No." I didn't want to believe it. I did not want to believe my best friend for like 10 years just gone.
It's gone now. You're just they're not there anymore, and it's like something you have to like deal with, and you can't. I mean, there's just things like, what do you say to that? You're like, you got nothing.
Yeah, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Just like everything going on with the knockout, and then just how everything was going on with that, and then with that news right there, and then me, trying to work with the, Chris Carnage, us running Podcasting Network, and then getting the news my best friend just died. And I'm like, dude, what the hell's happening? And I couldn't believe it. I mean, he was 41 years old, heart attack.
Right.
Yeah, and it just and then I had to go do a Halloween gig with a friend of mine, and it was like, he goes all out every year for Halloween. Every year he does something big, like he has a big attraction. I mean, for his yard.
Oh,
and
I
stuff.
love those. Those are so much fun.
Oh, dude, he goes out. This year he did the classic monster thing. He had a 50-foot skeleton in his front yard that lit up and like moved. Yeah, 50 foot. He dressed up like Frankenstein's monster. He dressed up as a monster. He's like, he told me back in the middle of summer, he starts in the middle of summer and plans 3 months into doing Halloween. He says to me, yeah, he does. He goes all out. I redid my fence, and he's like, "What do you do with the wood?" And I was like, "Throw it away." He goes, "Give it to me." So I gave him the wood. He made coffins. He made like a horror like meat cutter stand out of. He made a wagon with my old fence and all this. He's the stuff he makes. It looks like he's working for Universal, but he does it better from scratch. I'm serious. Nice. Yeah, and he's like,
I like a good do-it-yourself story.
Yeah, he's like, I want you to play Dr. Frankenstein. So I was like, okay. So I said yeah to that, and then 3-4 days later, before doing his 4-night Halloween thing, playing Dr. Frankenstein, your best friend dies. It's like, how do I do this? And it's like, okay, because I became Dr. Frankenstein to entertain people for Halloween, but it's like I put it in the back of my head. It's like when he set up his front porch there with like the laboratory, mad scientist laboratory. Yeah. And I did a skit where, I walk up and I hit the button and he comes up like Frankenstein, and it's like, he's alive. And I'm like saying that. After the 3rd day, I about lost my voice. By the 4th day, my voice is like no more, because I did it for so many hours that night, 4 hours a night, saying he's alive. And every time I'm sitting there doing that, at one point I felt like I got lost in the character, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, Dion's going to show up, man. He's going to love this, but he's not coming because he's not here. And it hurt. And I talked to my friends. I'm like, it's like, I need a break.
Right.
I was like, can't emotionally and mentally, I can't deal with this shit. I was like, I need a break from everything. I need to just back off and just try to spend time with my wife and my child, be a father, be a parent, be a husband, and that's what I.
And and for a lot of people, it seems like, unfortunately, stuff like that is what it's going to take to get someone to kind of like take a step back and realize what's important, like what they should be focusing on, things like that. You know, and sometimes you're like, wow, I should just been paying attention to signs the entire time and just. But I mean, like once you get a good gig, I mean, you don't want to give it up. You're like, I'm getting paid, I'm getting exposure, I'm loving this, I'm having a good time. So it's like, when do you stop? Like, I don't want to stop, but sometimes you got to take a step back and be like, all right, I need to just take a month and have like a mental health cleanse, I guess. I don't know how else to put that, really. I'm like, just.
Yeah, it's you're right, and that's what I needed, and I pretty much that first week I'm sitting there on the couch, I'm like, all right, what do I do? Because I weaned myself away from like looking at podcasts. I'm like, okay, let me wing myself off social media for a bit. Let me try that, because let me look around and see what I got around the house here. So I walk around the house that first week. I mean, I worked my day job. I'm at night. I'm pacing around, looking around. I'm like, all right, hey, I got a bunch of DVDs. Hey, I got Netflix. What do I do? So I got into watching Netflix shows. I watched all 3 seasons of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Finally, I don't know if you've ever seen that Stranger Things.
I think I've seen like the first season. I don't do a whole lot of TV, but like if I start watching and I get into it, I'm like hooked. Sometimes it takes a little while, and I'm like, I have to be in the right frame of mind to watch TV sometimes. So it's like,
yeah, I watched that, and my wife sat down and started watching it with me, and she ended up watching the second, third season with me. I'm sitting there waiting for like Cobra Kai season 3. I'm like, where is it? Because I watched.
Yeah, everyone at practice talking about Cobra Kai, and I'm like, I should probably attempt to watch this because it sounds pretty interesting from like how they're describing it. So I'm like, maybe I'll sit down one time and like during the winter, because I don't like to sit around the house a whole lot like during the spring and summer when it's nice to be outside. I just want to walk around and stuff. And
right,
winter's good for just sitting around doing nothing, especially in the Midwest. You're like, I got time. Let's sit and watch something. Let's binge something.
Yeah, I watched Cobra Kai. I ended up finishing watching that, and then what else did I watch? I watched a lot of movies. I watched the DC animated movies. Like I have. Yeah, I watched. I found on Blu-ray Batman Ninja. That was awesome.
Nice.
That was awesome. Where Batman, I think it was Grood, ended up the smart gorilla. I don't know if you follow DC. You're familiar with this.
Yeah.
DC. Grood does something in Gotham, and he sends everyone back to ancient Japan, back during the samurai days in Japan.
Oh, nice.
And Batman is out of his element because he ends up popping up in a Japanese town, and these samurais with Joker faces come after him, and he's fighting them off, and everyone's looking at him. He smoke bombs, and he takes his gun and tries to shoot it up in the air. It is like there's no buildings. You're out in the middle of nowhere. So he's out of his element. So he had to rely more on his physical and knowledge of what he has around him than what he had before. And all the villains got transported, and they ruled different territories, which was crazy. Joker was like the king villain of the samurai and stuff. Poison Ivy, Penguin, and Two-Face all had like territories. It was crazy. The action, the story was great. But I also watched Batman Assault on Arkham, where the Suicide Squad had to go into Arkham, and they had to go rescue, or they had to go get something from the Riddler that can incriminate what's her name, Amanda Fuller from the Suicide Squad, and Batman.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Batman finds out, and he has to go there and stop the Suicide Squad, and the Joker's there. Harley Quinn accidentally breaks the Joker out. It's just some madness, man. Some madness.
I'm sure it was accidental.
Yeah. But it was great, man. And these two movies were not like just like PG-13. These were almost like R because of the language and the violence.
Well, and that like some of the content they would have to cover and whatnot. I could see it like a loose R rating or like an NC-17. Definitely. I mean, if you want to tell the story right.
Yeah. The story was nuts, man. It definitely was nuts there. And them trying to get into Arkham and stuff, and then Riddler, he knew a way how to defuse the tracking device things, where it makes their heads explode and stuff. That,
oh my god, that sounds crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the Joker wants to kill Deadshot because he thought he was moving in on his girl Harley. He wanted to kill Deadshot. Yeah, or it was just nuts with it. I enjoyed that. I watched stuff like that. I watched a couple independent movies on there called Freaks, about this overprotective father whose daughter, who has powers, and wouldn't let her out of the house. And then she gets outside and she finds out all this stuff is going on. And there's a big reason why her dad's keeping her hid and away from everybody, because like that second hour, or like after the first 50 minutes, you're like, what the hell's going on? And then you're like, oh, that's what's going on. And then it just full force goes into the story, and at the end you're like, wow, I want to see more of this. It turned out great.
Right. I like the ones that kind of, you're like, huh, I'm intrigued. Oh, that now I have full attention on this story, and you're like, wow, okay, well, they need to make like another movie or a series, or at least kind of explain and like flesh out some of this other shit that's happening. You're like,
yeah,
it's like, Kirk, I need more.
I watched that, and then I watched a movie called Freaks, You're One of Us. It was a German superhero movie. It was a German cast. They dubbed over some English, but they did it really good. This waitress, she's working her job, married, has a son, and she was a waitress at this like truck stop gas station thing. It's one of those gas stations that have a restaurant in, with the gas station. Yeah. So she ends up, she's wanting a promotion, and her boss is a real like hard ass, and she looks like, some like, I hate to use the term, like someone like Matilda type woman, big thick chin, and she's like, she's all into Arnold Schwarzenegger. She's in their office reading magazines of Schwarzenegger and stuff, she's like, you want to be like Schwarzenegger, and then she's being a bitch to this, she wants to support her family, and she's seen a psychiatrist making her take this medicine, and this homeless guy she meets out while she's taking the trash out says, quit taking the medicine. You'll see who you really are. So she quits. So
it's kind of like the Matrix. Like, you need to see the real world. Oh, yes, I like that. I like that already.
But this is the interesting part. When she stops taking the medicine, she's walking by, going home, and there's these three punks. And they're like, oh, hey, baby, hey, and she's like, stop it. And then one grabs a hold of her, and she's like, whoosh, and she slings them halfway across the parking lot. She's like, whoa. And this guy comes running to her, and she kicks him, and he flies across and lands into a car, and she smacks the piss out of the other guy, and he takes off running. And she's like, whoa, I got super strength. And then the next day at work, she breaks this pan, and she tries to hide it from her boss. And then later on, her boss finds it, and she, Matilda comes in there. I just call her Matilda. She's like, this is gonna come out of your paycheck and stuff. And she's like, slams her stuff down, grabs a hold of her, lifts her up with one arm, and she's all like, yeah, and then from that moment on, she's scared of her. She's scared shitless of her. And then this one person with her kids in the car, always parking in a handicap spot. She keeps telling her, "Please move your car." So she walks out there and she grabs a hold of the car and she pushes it over to the other side. Kids are in the car. They're like, yeah. And then she meets other people. The homeless guy, I forget what his power is, and then she meets this other guy who he has electricity, and it's funny, man. It's a great movie. I loved it. I loved it. I was like, this is great. That would be cool to see if like a series out of that too. But that's pretty much what I did at my time. Got caught up with FGW, watching that, and then just been enjoying myself. And then I'm just sitting there. I'm like, 2020 is coming to an end. Yes. Reset button. 2021. You know?
And it's like, little do you know, the shit's gonna still it's still gonna be rolling down the hill. It's like, now we know how to avoid it and whatnot. So it's like, just continue to live your life. You gotta. Unfortunately, things have to move on, and I'm really, I'm really kind of glad they're coming out with vaccines and stuff. My doctor has already contacted me. He's like, you need to be in the first group, and I'm like, okay. Like, I don't have to fight for this? Great. I'm just gonna take the damn thing and be like, done.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of the companies that come out with the vaccines. I've been looking at stuff up online. There's different ones. I know one of them, the side effects, it makes you sick for like 2 days, and then you're fine. And
yeah, it's almost like, it just sounds like a side effects of like like a flu shot. I mean, like soreness, a little fatigue. You know, you might feel down in the dumps for a little bit, and then you're fine.
Yeah.
But I'm like, one of our good fans, I call him super fan, had actually contracted COVID, and it was really touch and go with him for a while. And and I'm like, I'm not gonna take the chance. I'm like, whatever y'all give me, just give me, and I'm not worried about no microchips or nothing. And I'm like, you're already microchipped. You have a phone, you have a computer, you have
a credit card.
I'm like, yeah. you're, and if you have a newer car with like GPS and shit in it, yeah. You're already microchipped, honey. I hate to tell you, I hate to wipe your conspiracy theory clean, but you're already chipped and you don't know it. You were chipped since birth, honey. I don't know how to tell you that.
Pretty much. I saw something on Facebook. It said, taking the vaccine is the mark of the beast.
Well, I haven't compared to Satan, so I mean, it could be me. Sometimes I black out and I forget what I do, so I'm like, oh. You just have a really bad night, you black out, and you're like, I don't know what I did last night. And then Twitter comes on, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You open Twitter and you're like, oh man.
Post-drunking is the best. I've done that too many times. Post-drunking. And then I'm like, the next day I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Delete. Oh God, I did that. Delete.
You're like, the damage has already been done, but you're like, oh God, I was not in the right mind last night, so
yeah.
I apologize.
Right. I sometimes I'll go through my feed and I'll see like just bad shit, and I'm just like scrolling. I'm like, oh my God. You know what? It's time for a drive-by meme. Let's put some laughter in people. So it's
right,
like,
and I'll just put like a big spam of like the dirtiest, raunchiest, funniest, and I'm like, here, you guys need a laugh, and I need a break from this. So if this is your thing, here's 20 pictures that you might laugh at, and if it's not your thing, then go back into the depressing hole. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah. That's like you and Missy. You guys crack me up going back and forth with your stuff. I don't even really know her. I I know she does photography for. She did photography for EHF wrestling. That's about all I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And she's a mutual friend of yours and Damien Saint. You
Oh,
know.
I love that guy. He's the
Yeah,
freaking best.
he is. I had him come on last year. He came back on for.
I was actually in Branson when you did that one. I actually listened to a little bit of it, so I'm like,
Do you like the ribbon on David C. Russell?
that was. I had to admit, I'm like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's him and David go back and forth. They rip each other so much. It's funny, and then I get pulled in the middle of it. And I'm looking, and I'm like, oh man, I ain't saying nothing. Give me a bag of popcorn because this shit is great. And then just him and Ripper Blackheart was so great. Just having Ripper there, he added more to it because I planned on that night is like I told Ripper, it's like we'll have Damien on for about an hour and then we'll talk about this and that, and it just kept going. I'm like, you know what? Fuck the other shit because we're not talking about it right now. Let's just keep this going with Ripper and with Damien. Ripper.
Right, definitely.
Yeah. So it's like I don't want to stop a good thing. Kept it going, and that was great. Spare rib. Spare rib gets me. When I was going back looking at clips for the best of, I had a friend of mine who was helping me out on posting stuff on my Facebook page there for Everett Lee Show. He's like, "Hey, think about doing a best of for in 2020?" And I was like, "No, I never really thought of doing it." And you know what? I think I will.
Omnibus collection of interviews, yeah.
So I looked at all the episodes for 2020. I was like, damn, I did a lot, especially when I got furloughed. That's something that happened to me, too. I got furloughed, I think it was like March 8th. No, April 8th, I got furloughed, and I was furloughed for 74 days. I didn't go back to work until June 22nd. And during that time, I was sitting there catching up with FGW. I'm sitting here on the couch, not doing nothing. Robin Nelson, I'm like, hey, dude, I love FGW because he works with FGW. A good friend of mine, has a show on Podcasting Network, Wrestle Popcast, and Horror Pop After Midnight. So I was telling him, yeah, love FGW. He creates a chat with all the talent at FGW. And it's like, hey, Everett, he has a great show. Get on his podcast. I'm like, what do I do? And then all this talent's like for FGW is there for like 2 months. It's like, I'll come on. Why not? You know, I mean,
right. If people are throwing themselves at you, you're like,
yeah,
let's get this in. Let's get it in. It might be entertaining.
That's how I developed a good friendship with the Ripper Blackheart because of that. There, having him come on, and then I got to talk to Cody Hawk, which was great. Never got to talk to him. That was good talking to him, and even talking to him off camera, off the record was even awesome, man. Great guy, great talent. Getting to talk with him, and then getting to talk to Big John Murray, who was on Rock of Love, best friends, hangs out with Bret Michaels. I mean, just even talking off the record, and that's great. I love those moments. I mean, on the record, when we hit record's great, awesome, but off stuff I never will share with anyone because
it's like that's when it gets really candid. You're like, all right, here's how that really went down.
Yeah.
Like, remember how I had asterisk about this one event? Here's what really happened. And like, I can't really go on. I can't really say it to the world, but here's what really happened.
Yeah. It's great. I love those conversations. And like I was telling you when I was going back watching the best of, and I was watching the episode we did last year, and I'm going back looking at that, and that one clip when we were talking about music, I was like, hell yeah. I was like, that's a good moment right there. I just like when we first started off because I loved it. I was like, this is going to be great. We're talking about, heavy metal and stuff. Talking about Dio and just some great music there. Speaking of music, Huh?
When did we do that? Because I don't remember. Had I gone to California and seen Maiden at
I
that point? I don't remember.
I think because
Okay.
I'm pulling it up right here because I could go to the date on the when it was done there. I'm pulling up my hard drive here. I have an external hard drive, 4 terabyte. It's like on my computer, I have no video or audio. Everything is on that little black box. That's how. I mean, I keep everything there. Computer takes it. If the computer ever takes a shit, I won't lose nothing. I got it on the
Yeah,
little black box.
my husband has a server that I have my feet on it right now. He has a server in the computer room here, and he's like, I can back up everything, and I'm like, okay, you do that.
Yeah, when was that? Okay. Oh, wow. January. It was January 29th.
Okay.
Yeah, it was about that time. January 29th, at the end of January of
Okay.
last.
So yeah, I had just come off that show and all that. Yeah. Okay. That sounds about right.
Yeah. You said you went and seen Maiden around that time, right?
It was September of 19. Yeah, we
Okay.
were at the bank of whatever in California. It's in LA, and Fozzy opened up for him, and I was pretty happy about that. And then Maiden, and I was just like, they opened with Aces High, and I was just like, I'm in heaven. And the plane dropped down, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Wow. So you went out to California to see him.
Yeah, we were.
Tell me
My
about
husband
that.
actually.
Tell me about that. I'd like
Yeah,
to hear about this.
my husband actually works for CBS Viacom. So like they have Paramount under their umbrella. So he went out there to do a little bit of work or whatever. And we kind of planned a trip around the 19th, and we had a fun time. We went to like Venice Beach and the Santa Monica Pier and all that stuff. We kind of did stuff around, and we spent a lot of time in West Hollywood. I love it there. It's probably one of the cooler places, and then the cooler place I've been to. And then because he works there, we got to walk around the Paramount lot and like look at all the sound studios and all the shows that were recorded there and the dates, and it was really freaking cool.
Dude, that's amazing. And
And unfortunately, like there was nothing like recording at the time that we could see that we really cared about. Because we probably would have sat in on like some like recordings or whatever, like shows and whatnot. But I'm like, man, there's really nothing going on. It was kind of like midsummer and like mid to late summer, and nothing was really going on. So I'm like, let's just walk around and like look at stuff.
That's cool. That's cool. You did a lot of get to see some sightseeing. You went to the. Did you go by the Rainbow Room?
I did not. We did not. I didn't. We didn't have a whole lot of time. We kind of packed a lot of stuff to do in like 7 days. So I'm like, all right, we'll come back out here. I mean, it's not like it's going to go anywhere.
Right. That would have been cool if you got to go by the Rainbow Room there, man. It's like Lenny Kilmister hung out here, man.
That would have been like, yeah.
That would have been awesome. That would have been awesome just to go in there and just check it out and just see that there. A lot of bands have had time to write and record new music, and I was surprised that AC/DC dropped an album back in November. There was rumors about it. I was hearing a lot of.
And then they dropped the one song, and you're like, oh, okay, well they've been working on some new stuff, and then like,
boom,
like a couple weeks later, they're like, oh, by the way, here's our new album, and I'm like, okay, well 2020 got a little bit better. Like we got some new music at least. I mean, we got some good stuff.
Yeah. We got some good AC/DC there. And what's cool is that Malcolm, he's on the album. They've recorded it before he passed away. And I heard something the other day. They said that AC/DC, why they had time off, recorded so much and wrote so much material while Malcolm, I guess, before he passed away, that they can actually, if they wanted to, like right now, they could put out another album. That's how much material they have just in the vault sitting there.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, once you sit down and start like recording, whether it's music or like a podcast or whatever, if you get like a good topic or a good sound going, you just ride that thing out, and like 4 hours later, you're like, it's midnight. Holy crap, the whole day just flew by, you know? And I'm like I said, whenever you get together with people, just ride the tide, man. If it's going, keep it going.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the cool things about a band like that. AC/DC, man. When I heard that when I first heard that song, when I first heard that new song there, I was like, is this new AC/DC? It sounds like AC/DC. They have not changed their damn sound in 30 years, have they not?
And it's either you like that kind of thing where it's just like one uniform kind of sound, or you're like, it just sounds like the stuff they did in the 80s. And I'm like, well, but if you like the stuff they did in the 80s, and you probably would like it still now.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm like, AC/DC to me is kind of like a feeling. I mean, they just have a vibe. And if you feel that vibe and you like the sound, I mean, I like that big power chord sound where it's just like, you hear Angus's guitar, and you hear like on the beginning of Thunderstruck, and you watch his fingers, and you're like, how the fuck is he doing that? And you can just pick up a guitar right now and just go right into it. I'm like, that takes a lot of like muscle memory, and I'm like, I couldn't even like attempt to do that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that just how Angus plays and just how he still moves around on the stage. And Brian Johnson, I know I felt bad when Brian Johnson got, kind of booted out there for a minute, and then they brought him back. I thought it was great. They did some shows there at that one point. They had Axl Rose filling in, but Axl. I heard some of the audio from when Axl was performing with AC/DC. I kid you not. Axl sounded like a young Bon Scott playing.
I haven't heard it, but I'll take your word. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, he was playing like a young Bon Scott. I mean, he sounded like a young Bon Scott there, because when they did, I heard a whole lot of Rosie when they did that live.
Yes.
Yeah, Axl sounded just like Bon Scott. I was like, wow, this is great. There's some bootleg live stuff out there. You just really got to look there. Speaking of like bootleg live stuff, it's crazy. I don't know if you heard about like Twitch, like the music industry cracking down on Twitch. They're like going after like streamers for playing their music and
them and like YouTube have just kind of like, YouTube has always been that way. So I mean, I can't really crap too much on YouTube, but like some of the content that you have on YouTube, you're just like, why is this here? It doesn't fit anything. Nobody's watching this. I mean, I haven't really heard about the Twitch thing.
Yeah, there were streamers that would like play music from like artists, and they'd play along with it and do stuff like that. Well, the music industry went to Twitch and is like, we're coming after you because you're streaming our music. And Twitch basically were assholes and turned around and said, "Oh, it's not us, it's the streamers." So they focused the attention off of them and put it on the content creators. And then someone from Capitol Hill, I heard too, this is real crazy. They're trying to make it a federal crime if you stream music. Yeah, it's getting ridiculous now. I mean, they tried to pass that, but they put it up there, I guess, to the Senate or the House.
And we're like, this is ridiculous. Why are we even looking at this? Like,
yeah, it landed on Trump's desk, and he was like, no, and then they still want to press it after this year they still want to press it with everything that's going on with that there and stuff. I mean, just crazy stuff, man. I hope 2021 has some better ups. I mean, just
hey, but look at it this way. At least the year turned 21, and we can get it drunk if it starts acting up. I mean, I don't know. Just here's some Everclear. Just go chill out, man.
yeah. Talking about chill out, I recently came upon some Sublime CDs. I found a
oh my god.
Yeah, I haven't listened to Sublime since back in high school. I've rediscovered them again. I found the acoustic CD, the one with all the acoustic songs. I got that one, and then I found this box set with 3 discs and a DVD of like rarities, demos, and just unreleased stuff. And that DVD is a live performance, I think in 1990 something, out in LA somewhere. But
right.
A lot of the rarities on that CD, I mean, on that box set, it has where they got like interviews, mentions on radio shows, but then they got demo songs of Doing Time, Summertime, and just stuff like that, So I was like, this is great. I was jamming out to it the other day. I was like, dude, this is
right on.
I was like,
I love you some Sublime.
Yeah. Ended up finding a bunch of others. I've been collecting CDs, like albums that you have to have, that just albums in your collection. I found what was it? Smashing Pumpkins Siamese Dream. I was like, I need to have that just to have it. I found Mother Love Bone CD, so I'm like, I gotta have this one. It's a double CD of Mother Love Bone. I found that. I found Weezer's Blue Album.
Oh my god, that's a way back when.
Oh yeah, I haven't had that. I had that CD back in '95, and 96. I gave it to my stepbrother for his birthday. I was like, he liked Weezer, and I had that album, and I was like, I knew what his mom was gonna get him. My stepmom got him a cassette player with a turntable, no CD, and he was wanting the CD player, and she got him that, and got him Elton John at the time, Elton John cassette or record, and gave it to him, and he was like, I really didn't want this. It was almost like she got it for herself and gave it to him, and I felt bad, and I was like, here, you get a CD player. Here's your first CD, and I gave him that CD, and then
it's like here's some good stuff. And I mean, I love some Elton John, but I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know if you would give it to like a I would assume like a 13, 14-year-old child. You're like, they're in a little bit different shit. I mean, you got to know your audience, know your target audience. Damn it.
Yeah. So she gave that to him, and I gave him the Blue Album, and he's like, "This is your favorite." I was like, "Dude, I'll get it. I'll go buy it," and I never did. And then like 30 years later, I ended up getting it again.
Like you walk in like a used record store, and you're like, "Oh shit, there it is! I'm never gonna find it again, so I gotta buy it now."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm going through, looking at albums that it's like what CDs or vinyls you should have in your collection. This is now.
Oh my god, we're gonna be here all day.
This is crazy. Tell me what you think about this. I was at a thrift store. I was going through looking at vinyls, and I found a Bob Seger one, Night Moves. I'm like, okay, I'll get this. Creedence Clearwater, best of, double vinyl. Okay, cool. I'm looking through. I find what is it? Beatles Abbey Road on vinyl. I'm like, okay. And then I find
you find your essentials, and you're like, all right, we're gonna build like this base. We're gonna have a foundation of these artists, and then we're gonna build on like the next generation of these artists. That's the next level of the foundation, and you build up from there. And then you find you're not even looking for the pot of gold, and you just come across the record that you absolutely have to have, and you're like, I don't give a fuck how much this is. It's coming home with me today. I'm like, I will go to the ATM and pull out $200. I'm like, I have got to have this, And then, so what did you find? What else did you find? I mean, like, what did you find that you were like, holy Mecca of God and everything?
I found. I wasn't even looking. It was right there. I found The Cars. I found that on vinyl. The Cars.
Oh,
yes.
nice.
Yes. It has the song from Fast Times at Ridgemont High on it. She Moves in Stereo. Yes. And I was like, I'm like, I'll get it. So I got it.
I mean, considering last year Rick Ocasek died, and I'm like, you have to have this. Or was it 19? It was like either
19.
late 19 or early 20.
Yeah.
I was driving downtown Vegas, and that came over. I don't remember when it was. Probably like September. But I was driving downtown Vegas, and they came over the radio, and they're like, "Oh, this just in, Rick Ocasek from the Cars died," and I was like, "What the fuck?"
3 days later,
man, I love their stuff.
I do too, man, because they had a lot of great songs. But the funny thing was, when I found out vinyl, I got it, and then 3 days later, he passed away.
Right, that was your golden moment. You're like, this is a sign. This is the sign that I needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a sad time. They played nothing but like Cars music all day, and I'm like, all right. It was like I think it was like an alternative station. I forgot what the name of it. But every time I go to Vegas, I have to have it on. So I'm like, they play all the good shit. I'm like,
Yeah, definitely. Talking about someone else who passed away, man. Eddie Van Halen, man. God.
Right. I mean, I wasn't super surprised, but at the same time, I'm like, we didn't hear from him for a while, and
yeah, that really got me. When was the first time you remember hearing Van Halen? How old were you, or when do you remember the first time you heard Van Halen?
Oh, God, I'm dating myself. Probably like early 80s. I mean, early 80s. Probably like on a classic rock station. I don't remember what album or whatever, but once you hear like Eddie, or a lot of guitar players have signature sounds. Once you hear Eddie, you're like, you can pick him out of a crowd. I mean, he just has that sound. Like,
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was probably pretty young.
Yeah, I remember 1984, MTV first came out. And I probably mentioned this before on the other...
Was it the Jump video?
Yeah, Jump.
Yeah.
Jump. Yeah, that was the first time. Hearing that synthesizer, dun, 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 and then you see David Lee Roth out there, it's like, I'm 5 years old. I'm like, who is this guy?
And then him jumping the freaking drum set, and you're like, yes, this is the real shit.
There I am. I'm jumping off my couch, trying to do that and get my ass whooped on my mom.
DLR off the drum set.
Yeah, it's like trying to be like Diamond Dave, and I remember speaking of Diamond Dave, I remember the California Girls commercial, or not commercial, the video, and Just a Gigolo. I remember the Just a Gigolo one. That was comedic. I love that video still.
It's a classic. I mean, it's one of those. If you hear the song, the video plays, and certain parts of the video you play in your head, and you're like,
yeah.
And then share it on your Facebook page, and you're like, remember this song, remember this video, and everyone's like, yeah.
I did find recently. I found Van Halen 1984, so I picked it up. I had to pick it up.
Nice.
I found that. I found Van Halen, I found Balance. I remember that because the album cover's so cool with those two twins on the seesaw, they're like
Right,
double.
yeah.
Yeah, I found that because I like the Van Hagar era. I like a lot of their songs, man. I loved.
I think I like Sammy's voice. I mean, I like Dave's theatrics, but I like Sammy's voice. So if I could just like cut them both in half and cut them together, and have like the perfect.
Believe it or not, you'll laugh at this. I have Van Halen 3 with Gary Sharon.
Really?
Yeah.
Just when you pull out and show the grandkids, you're like, I remember.
I felt so bad for Gary Sharon. Think about this, man. You had two big name people that fronted this band, and then you get asked to front one of the biggest bands in the world. And instead of taking the approach of let's go on tour, get people to really get behind you, and then
get interested. Invested in you. Right.
Yeah. And then jump in the studio and record an album. No, they jumped right in, recorded an album, then went out and toured, and then people are like, "Who the fuck's this guy?" And then it's like,
right.
"Oh, okay, he can sing, all right," but it was already too late because the album came out. People are like,
They already have kind of a negative like image in their mind, like, who the fuck are you to come into this band? We don't know who you are. You didn't give us any reason to invest in you, and now you're on tour, and you're trying to make money off this album. You're like,
yeah.
Like I said, they could have probably did between 5 and 10 dates just across the country, not like super huge, but just kind of get people acclimated to their sound.
Yeah.
And then, at the end of the show, oh, by the way, next year we're putting out an album. Make sure you look for it. Make sure you buy it. Make sure if you like the sound, if you're having a good time tonight, buy our shit, buy our merch. That's how you do it. I mean,
yeah, exactly, and that's the approach they didn't do there. And I think that album would have did a lot better. But then it's like Stone Temple Pilots. They got another singer. They've went out and they already hit shows and stuff, and people's like, all right, I like this singer, and I'm just waiting for them to put a new album out with the new singer. He sounds like Scott. He does.
Right,
So,
he did. He really did. I mean, kind of like the one guy with Queen. I mean, I think he did a decent job for Freddie Mercury. But like you said, if you don't do it right, and you just think like, oh, this new guy, this nobody is coming in. Why do we care about him? We care about the other guys in the band, but why are we watching this? I totally get what you're saying.
yeah, it's just get people to like him first. Like Alice in Chains, the singer, I like him because they went out and toured, and he covered the library of Alice in Chains, and then jumped in the studio, recorded a new album. And when it came out, people were like, yeah, I love this. And people who's like, oh, I haven't heard this, word of mouth. It's like, dude, it's like he's been with the band already for a long time. Oh, he has? Yeah, they've been for a whole year touring. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. There you go.
Right. It's like, so for that kind of thing, you cover the songs that people want to hear, then you're like, oh, here's one of our new songs. You throw that in. People, you've already got their attention, and then you throw them a couple new ones, and then they're like, we're thinking about coming out with an album next year. If you like those two songs, they're going to be on it, and then okay, now here's some more songs you might know, or you cover a couple more songs, and then throw them a couple more new ones, or like a new sound, or like something like, oh, we're experimenting, and we kind of came up with this. Tell us what you think, and then you're like, yeah, people are like, yeah, or. Yeah, and I mean, people are going to be kind of meh with a lot of things at first, especially if it's new.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to ease them into it. Not a lot of people like change. Not a lot of people can just be like, "Here's something new," and be like, "Oh, we're behind this."
I want to take a quick break and let's give a word from our sponsors. When I want to kick back a few cold ones with my friends, I head over to City Limits Tap Room. City Limits Tap Room has a wide selection of TVs to watch your favorite sports, indoor and outdoor seating. They are pet friendly. City Limits Tap Room also has food made fresh to order, and the grilled cheese is excellent. I recommend the grilled cheese and the apple pie cider. The fries on the side, can't go wrong with that, baby. For more information for upcoming events, head over to facebook.com/City Limits Tap Room. Keep up with the latest shows and content from Podcast City Network over on podcastcity.net. Follow them on facebook.com/Podcast City Network, Twitter @PodcastCityNet. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Podcast City Network, on Twitch, Podcast City Network. Podcast City Network, the top source for independent podcasting. Be creative, be yourself.
You're listening to The Everett Lee Show.
Talking about change, I wasn't really too much for the everything that like change, the way we live, how we interact now, all that stuff. It took me a really hard time to adjust to it, and now I'm pretty much eased into it. I'm like, you know what, man, this is just how it is right now. This is pretty much how it is, and eventually things will get back to something, and when it does, I'll open it with open arms. But for right now, I'm just going to do this, and that's pretty much all I can do. And it is just hope.
Right now, you just kind of have to bide your time and go and kind of like write it out.
Yeah.
And see where I'm pretty sure things will, with the vaccine or whatever, I think things will start going back to normal. The thing we're used to or whatever. But I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time, unfortunately, because it's killed a lot of people, and it should scare you. And I mean, you should take this definitely very seriously. But at the same time, like I said before, there's a point where you have to just stand up and go, I still have to live. I'm not going to die tomorrow. Hopefully, I still got a few good years. So I want to keep wrestling. I feel like you want to do your podcast, but like for you. It's a little different because, like, we don't have to be in the same state. We don't have to be in the same room. And with a lot of technology, I think a lot of podcasts have taken off. I've seen a lot of people start them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of good for, like, your industry. But, I mean, if we're not doing anything, like, around our area, I'm like, I don't have anything to talk about. I'm like, we had a really good practice yesterday, but we worked on fireman's carries and shit. And I can pump up my practices and... Yeah. But I don't have any new videos. I don't have anything new. So
right now you don't have anything new. But when you said you were practicing, when I hit you up, I'm like, hey, it's like we talked about getting you back on and trying to get a date and a time to do it and stuff. And then I threw a couple days out there, and you're like, no, I'm practicing. And I said to myself, I was like, that's good. It's like she's in the ring. She's getting, has no ring rust. You got no ring rust, which is great. And that right there, I mean, just, you're training, and a lot of workers during like last year when they weren't doing anything and didn't have no shows, they were training and hitting the ring and running back and forth, make no ring rust, which I thought was great. Some did, some just, was like, fuck it, But then they finally got back.
I think there was like a 6 or 7 month span where we didn't even have practice. It's like I said, he had lost the building, and so we were trying to find like a new place or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that 6-7 months off was perfect. I mean, like, a lot of my injuries kind of healed up, and I'm like, I feel like I could go again. And because it kind of got to a point where I was almost burnt out, and I was going to ask for like 2 or 3 shows off. I'm like, I'll show up and I'll do a little bit of this and that. And I'm like, I don't want I don't want to get in the ring. I don't want to. I'm like, I just need to be out of the action for like 2 shows. You know, just kind of like regroup and.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to end like that, but I mean, you know, part of me just goes, oh, I'm really glad that we didn't have to do anything for a few months where I can just focus on something else. Because I was really draining. I was really draining all my energy into this, and I'm like,
yeah. That's good that you took that time off to heal there, and you know, you getting how did it feel getting back in the ring? How did that feel for you?
Oh my God, that first the first hit, and I'm just like, am I sure I want to do this?
It reminds me of I was reading an interview with Triple H, because he was almost doing like how the Undertaker showing up once a year in wrestling. And he said right before Mania, those 2, 3, 4 months or whatever it is, 5 months, he'd get in the ring there and train. He said that first bump you take, he said he felt like his back exploded. He's like, oh damn, I haven't done this in a long time.
Right. It feels like you landed on concrete, and you're just like, and you make the noise, and you're like, I'm good, I'm good, and you get back up, and you're like, I think I'm good.
Because you live around the Chicago area. You live in Illinois there. What because when I talked to Damien, he said there was a new promotion that's starting up in Chicago there. I can't remember the top of my head what it was.
Oh, CCW Classic Championship or something like that, or Chicago Classic.
Yes, Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you plan on doing anything with that promotion, or what do you plan on?
I mean, I would like to. I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna keep my options limited at this point. So I'm like, I need to get back out there.
Yeah. Right.
You know, whatever happens, happens. I mean, I talked to the one guy. God, I can't remember his name off the top of my freaking head. And I'm going to feel so bad because I'll be like, listen to my interview. I mentioned you, but I didn't mention you by name. It's like by association. But I'm like, I don't care if it's just a little spot, or I'm like, I just want to get back out there and start doing stuff again. I mean,
right.
I'm like, I'll beat on the guys. I don't give a shit. I'll beat them. Whatever. I ain't afraid.
You haven't looked at any promotions you have your eyes set on, because Damien said a lot of the promotions went under and they're not around.
Yeah, everything. I mean, a lot of the area was kind of oversaturated anyway, so
right.
So it was kind of, I don't want to say it was a good thing they went under, but at the same time, more pop up, and I'm just like, let me see if these guys actually last. I mean, I can kind of tell if you're going to be around for a while, or if you're just going to be like what we like to call tax time wrestling. It's like we run once a year, right around tax time, and I'm like, no, I'm good. I pass.
So there's really not much promotions going on and stuff. Chicago would be one that you would be interested in. Anything that's still around that you may be interested in, that you have your eye on?
Well, there's a couple of, there's one called like C3 Wrestling. I think that's run by Classic Chris Williams. I've been to a couple of their shows. I wouldn't mind doing. Obviously the Chicagoland Championship Wrestling. That'd be
right.
That one sounds kind of fun. Oh God. I mean, I really like Southland. I mean, I just kind of make a home there.
Right.
I shouldn't be too comfortable with it, but I kind of am. So I kind of have to make myself branch out once in a while and go, you know, there's other people to work with. And I'm like, but I like everyone here. So, yeah, I guess when things are going full speed again, I'll kind of see who and what's still out there and kind of go from there.
Right. You're keeping your options open. That's good. That's
Okay.
good. That's definitely good. And I'm happy that you're in the ring, training, and just getting into the
Getting back into the swing of things, right? Exactly.
Yeah, just getting back in the swing of things, and being ready, because this right here, hell, I had the American Giant on back a couple years ago. I had him on. He didn't. He came on my podcast, and then shortly after he appeared on my podcast, and I put that out, he got like 2 or 3 bookings from promotions just hearing him on my podcast. I was like, hell yeah, that's great.
That's what we like to call That's what we like to call networking, and that's
Yes.
I like when I like when people get booked and noticed just by doing an hour or two on like a radio show or something. You just like word of mouth. I'm like, that's the best part, man.
Yeah. One thing I loved about going back through the material I had in 2020 with the guests and stuff, a few of the talent that I had on the podcast told some crazy stories of ribbing or crazy fan interaction. I don't think I did get to ask you that. Could you share one story, like a crazy fan interaction or a ribbing that you were in of or on the receiving end of, or what?
Oh, I mean, I've witnessed. I mean, it's not like, nothing crazy like Randy Orton shitting in your gear bag or anything like that, but I'm just like, whoa. Let me think a minute. I'm gonna have to rack my brain.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's good because now my brain has to actually like switch gears and go, huh? Oh God. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a topic for another time, but I'm pretty sure I'm almost certain that I've. Oh my God. Okay, wait. I just popped into my head.
Okay.
So it wasn't really a rib or anything like that, but it's one of those. God, what do I want to call it? Like it's still real to me. Type segment. So. There was in LaSalle, we were running out of like a banquet hall or something, like typical indie wrestling kind of thing. And they were having like a Falls Count Anywhere match, and it spilled outside. I mean, outside, like into the street. So these houses, that were across the street. The kids were like, oh yeah, they're beating each other up. They're whooping and having an awesome time. But somebody called the cops. So they didn't even really get to finish the end of the match. I don't even remember what the finish was supposed to be, but police the cops showed up and we had to explain to them, as like, this is a wrestling show. We're not trying to invoke a riot. However, next time that we have a show here, you should come. It's almost like but it spilled in the street, and the next thing I hear is the promoter's like, the fucking cops are here. So I'm looking out the back, like, and the 2 guys that were in the match were like, we're wrestlers. I mean, you can't tell by how we're getting up, like how we're dressed. I'm like, nobody really goes around wearing spangly pants when they're going to get into a fight. I'm like, what the fuck? But it was just one of those things, and I think it was Tristan Hayes and, oh God, I want to say, I don't remember what Neil was wrestling under that time, but he was like a little guy. And he's kind of more like the deathmatch kind of thing, but I think it was them too.
Right.
I know it was Pat. I know it was Hayes for sure, but they were, and I think he was with William Trauma at the time. It's like two to explain trauma to you, he's my height, and he walks around like this. He's constantly posting like pictures of like him working out and stuff. I mean, he just walks like this. So when you see these two, like Willie and Trauma, and they're not white, and we were wrestling in a pretty white area, so
right.
I swear to God, there was almost a riot. There was almost a riot that, and I'm like, we're wrestlers. We're in funky costumes. This is not like anything. We're not trying to. I honestly thought there was gonna be a riot that night. It was crazy. Oh my God! But as far as ribs, I don't really know of any. But I thought of a funny story at the top of my head with the we almost started a riot in LaSalle, Illinois, and I think there's like 20,000 people there. Right. I'm like, it was crazy. It was just, if I actually can find the footage, I'll have to like send to you if anyone has any footage. I'll be like, hey, but Hayes will tell you the story. He's like, yeah, me, Willie, and Trauma started a riot in the downtown LaSalle because we were beating on this little, and I think it was Neil. He's like 5'0". He was like 100 pounds soaking wet. They're just beating the shit out of him. And they still got the parking lot, and car alarms were going off, and it was insane. It was insane. I would love to relive that night because it was so damn funny. It was ridiculous.
That is amazing, man. I love that. I love that. That is great. That's some great stories there. Wow. This has been fun, man, just talking with you again. This has been great.
I would like to do more wrestling, but I mean, I'm like, there's, like, other than talking about, like, WWE and AEW and Ring of Honor and all that, I'm just like, I've got nothing. I don't know. I haven't gotten an official word. We're going to try to have another show within, like, at the end of this month or in the next month. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm kind of excited now. Yes. But again, if they don't really let us with the restrictions, I mean, we're kind of limited on what we can do. So unfortunately, right. And we're trying, and my husband's actually trying to work on a way to stream, like live stream, like a pay-per-view kind of thing. So that's kind of in the works, and we're trying to work on that, but it's expensive. And I'm like, for an independent company, I'm like, I don't know, like, how much we can put out. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah. What's the input versus the output? Like, is this worth? Can we generate enough interest to kind of like offset the cost every month? And I'm like,
yeah.
So
yeah, that it's kind of tricky there. I know with Facebook there back a few months ago, they were Mark Zuckerberg was getting mad because people were streaming events on Facebook.
Oh yeah, you can't live stream your friend's band anymore. And I'm just like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like perfect example. One of my favorite bands I grew up in high school listening to around my senior year of high school, Local H. They're from
yes.
They got their video. They did a live stream of their new album at the time, and Facebook muted it, and it's like, this is the band that owns this music.
Right, I wrote this. This is my shit. This is
yeah.
I think it's even gone. I don't know where I read it. But I think it's almost. It feels like it's almost gone beyond, like censoring music. And I don't want to say censoring music, but like, censoring copyrighted music or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, we want, people to be able to connect with other people. And I'm like, what the fuck do you think I'm doing?
Right. I was.
If I live stream one of my matches to my pages and you mute me, we're going to have a fucking problem, because I'm like, that's me in the ring. That is me doing my thing.
Yeah.
And, and my friends that you want me to connect with want to watch this. They want to see this.
Bingo.
And I'm like, you can't control this. I'm like, you can't put a damper on it, or I can't think of the term right now, but you can't. I don't want to say censor it, because it's really not censorship.
Yeah.
But you can't control everything that people put on their own page.
Exactly.
Especially if it's not like obscene or anything. It's just wrestling, or something you playing in a band. I'm like, it's not obscene.
Right. It's funny, because when I heard about that, I said to myself, I could picture Mark Zuckerberg sitting there just like whining and going, I didn't create Facebook for this, man. It's supposed to talk to people. Actually, you know what? Facebook, if you go back to the social network, I bought that movie a few months ago. I bought it. And
then you watch it like back then kind of thing, and how it's evolved now, you're like, motherfucker.
Yeah, Facebook was created to pick up, to connect with people and pick them up and go out with dates, basically. That's basically what it was.
Yeah, it was like Tinder. It was like Tinder back in the day or whatever, and you're like...
Yeah, Friendster, MySpace. I missed the MySpace days. Those were great.
Oh, me too. Like, straight up. I mean, I want everyone to hear my theme as they come onto my page. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I had Tool playing when you come on mine.
I
had Tool. I was like heavy in the Tool in like 2005, 6. I was like heavy in the Tool. That was like my band. My ex-girlfriend, for my birthday, she's like, what do you want? I said, I want Tool. They're like, what kind of Tool? I said, no, I want Tool. So she's like, oh, I heard of them. So she's like, you want a shirt? I was like, yes. And that shirt, I had to retire it last year because the collar
finally started to come out.
Yes. After what, I've had it since 2006, 16, 20, like 15 years. After 15 years, I had to retire it. You know how I retired it? I was painting, and I needed a shirt to wear the paint. So I put on Tool. So wore out neckline and white paint all over a black shirt that says Tool.
Whoops.
Yep. I'm like, whoops. And then top it off there, I threw it in the wash. Oh, the dryer ate it. Because when I took it out, underneath the armpit was like...
Gone.
I was like, we had some memories. And my wife was like, about time you got rid of that fucking shirt. I know, because she knew who gave it to me. She was happy. She had a fucking party, man. She had a fucking party.
Get it.
Yeah.
It's a Super Bowl jersey.
Yeah. My Tool shirt ended up missing, and she had a barbecue outside. And I was like, oh, you're barbecuing. What we having? And I was like, oh, that's where that went. Okay. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, whoa, man, that's pretty extreme.
I'm kidding. Nah, it's just...
I had me going. I was like, no.
No, my wife's not that vicious. She's loving. She is.
It's not the point in the day where you got to play taps. You got to play fucking taps. You got to have a full salute, like 21 gun salute, and like you just standing at attention the entire time. You're like, we served a good term. I'll always remember you.
Yeah, I had a
funeral.
I had a 21 gun salute there, to the shirt, and while listening to the new Tool that took 13 years to come out with.
You know what? I'm happy that it did, because I like Fear Inoculum.
God, I love the first song. 15 minutes. That's the best 15 minutes of my life when I hear that first song.
They're like 90% of it's instrumental, and I went, shut up and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Pussifer. I like the new Pussifer.
Oh my God, that's another good one.
Yeah, Maynard's a fucking genius.
He's got like the tool, perfect circle, Pussifer. I'm like, what else what else you want him to do?
Wine. He does his own winery. I was watching him on Joe
Oh,
Rogan.
yeah, he's busy. He's a busy boy.
He is. He had time to record a new Tool album, record a new Pussifer album, make wine, and do a live show, and that's pretty much it there. And yeah, I got to listen to more of the new Pussifer. It came out a few months ago, but I love it. I love it. I love that stuff, man. I love it. And
Exactly.
I loved every minute that we've had tonight. Catching up on things, seeing how we're doing, and just talking.
I try to make even the most boring, mundane things entertaining. I'm like, we got to get through this. We got to muddle through the same shithole. Let's make it fun.
We always make it fun, man. We made it fun tonight there. And like I was saying earlier, it's like you and Missy, I just get a crack out of you guys there. You saw I shared that one thing on the page there. I happen to saw that about the 7-Eleven Subway thing.
Yes.
I was like,
I'm glad somebody will enjoy that, because I was like, I'm not sure. I'm like, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna put it out there.
yeah, I loved it. I loved it. She liked it and stuff, and I just love it, man. This is great. I mean, we got to catch up tonight here and just bullshit and do a show. Sorry about the recording, the video part failing. So this will be put out as just a straight audio.
I'm gonna blame Windows 10. Just be like, screw it.
Yeah. The next time you come on, I'll make sure all the shit's straightened out and it'll be straight video. But
it's
still,
like, we got to do a test run before we go live.
I did a test run. Everything was fine. You know what it is? I think what I did was my printer. It started screwing up with the Wi-Fi. I had hooked up my computer Wi-Fi. So what I did was I took the extension from one of my cameras here, and I hooked the wire back up to the printer, but it wouldn't reach to the computer. I had about like this much left. I was like, shit. I was like, I don't want to move the printer over here. I got to do a lot of moving around. I'm like, I can't do it. So I said to myself, I'll take the extension thing from the camera. I'll plug it directly into the thing, and I'll use that. So that's what I did. I think that's what screwed it up.
It's like, no.
Yeah, and I probably have to clean up, defrag, and run some stuff on my computer because it's been a mess lately.
That's the best time. You're like, I've got 4 hours of staring at this screen while it defrags. Oh my god!
You know how I do that? I do it right before I go to bed, and I just go to bed.
Right, and then let it run overnight, because that's what I always used to do. Yeah. I'm like, especially, I mean, if you don't have a lot of stuff on your computer, you can probably just do it in a couple of hours. You're like, nah.
Yeah.
And then, but if you got like stuff like my husband, who's got like a server and like he's got like 2 monitors here, a tower here, and then he's got like an Apple computer.
Oh my god!
So there's his Apple, and then there's his 2 monitors.
Wow.
And then he's got like the freaking server down there.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm like, you could probably run the space station from fucking here, dude. Like straight up. You do about them launch codes or something.
Yeah. My setup is pretty damn crazy. My desk is kind of like piled up here right now. You can't really see. You see the bottom of that camera there. My other camera right there. Yeah, on the corner of the right-hand screen there, because the way I have my camera set up. But, yeah, this is pretty crazy. I got 2 other monitors here and doing some other stuff for a friend, and it's just, it's some crazy stuff here.
It's called multitasking, Deborah.
Yes. The external hard drive I got plugged up, that 4 terabyte one, it has all my audio and video on it. The day I took it off the backup hard drive, and I took everything and I transferred it over. And when it started going, you know how like the little bars like did 20, 10, 5, 10, 20%, and it says approximately transfer time. It said 6 hours. So I went to sleep. I woke up next morning. It was done. I was like, okay, cool. Went on there, checked it. All good. All good. So I was like, this is great. But
so that made me kind of think of like off topic really quick. You like when you were downloading things, like off of LimeWire and Napster and shit. And I kind of tied it back to like our earlier conversation. I was going to make a Napster joke. But I'm like, do you remember like when you would try to download like albums from like LimeWire and shit, and it would say like 6 weeks, and you're like, what the fuck? You're like, this is one goddamn song.
Yeah, yeah, that's
like, it's like it says 3 minutes, 3 weeks, and you're like, there's like, which one is it? There's no. How do you compare these two?
I figured out why. I found out why because back in the day it was I used back in the day LimeWire. I used that a few times. I used BearShare. That was one of the favorite ones. It's who you were leeching off of or seeding off of.
Right. And then like if like four or five people have the same album, it goes faster because you're kind of downloading from all these different sources.
Yeah.
But if you had one and like 10 people are trying to like seed off of this, you're like, fuck, I'm gonna be here all night. You know what? I'm just I'm done.
Yeah, it's like the guy.
I'm gonna go hit up my friend who buys all these albums and just fucking put them on my computer.
Yeah.
And download them and this will be much faster.
That's like the album that you want. It's the guy over in Sweden.
In the middle of the song going, "This Bill Clinton." Like, what the fuck is this? It's like somebody doing a Bill Clinton impression, and you're like right in the middle of the song, you're like during the musical break, "This is Bill Clinton," and I'm like, I kept half of those because I'm like, they entertained me. I'm like, I never know which one I'm gonna get. Am I gonna get the real song, or am I gonna get like Bill Clinton's version?
Well, that's like what was it? Madonna put out a new song, and people were wanting it. And the only way you can hear it at the time, it was on MTV and it was on the radio. So people were wanting that song. She purposely, this is what Madonna did. She purposely went on and put that song up to where you can get it. And people went after it and downloaded it. Yeah, they were happy when they downloaded it, but when they opened up the file and listened to the song, they got Madonna, but she wasn't singing. There was no music. It was her going, "Oh, you want this song, right? You want to fucking steal my song? Huh? Steal my song?"
She's giving him the business.
Yeah. So she tore.
Fucking great.
Yeah, she ripped into their asses, man. People were like, "Oh my god!" Because she's like, "You taking my song? You want to take my song? You ain't fucking getting it. This is what you're getting. Have a nice day." And fuck you. Yeah, she would tell people. Yeah, it was something like that. I was like, whoa, man, because I forgot what song it was. Yeah.
But see, then that's what. See, so someone like me would take that and go, okay, you want to put the screws to me? So you would take like one of her songs and remix it, and then like splice her going, "You want this fucking song?" And then, I would put like little bits of pieces of her tearing me a new asshole to a remix of her song that I'd be like, no, bitch. I got what I wanted. You gave me perfect material to create like a better version of one of your songs. I'm like, I don't need your new song. I can make your shit better.
Yeah. And it would be funny was it becomes like a #1 hit there, and then of course she's gonna be like, "Hey,"
I'd be like, you can have most royalties, but I want some money too because everyone wants to hear this shit.
Yeah, pay me because I produced, I edited it,
It's like, you're welcome. Yeah. I've been like, you're welcome. You're back in the headlines. Is that not what you wanted?
Yeah.
You want to generate buzz? Well, I'm going to help you.
Exactly.
My way, but I'll help you.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember when watching the Social Network, and remembering that Sean Parker actually helped Mark Zuckerberg at the beginning with Facebook, and then he was too much of a loose cannon. I could kind of relate to that there, and then he ended up taking a percentage and walking away from it though. But he was smart, telling Mark, it's like, don't do what I did, keep it, make something out of it, and he did.
Right.
But it was funny because I was going to mention earlier when I watched that movie not too long ago. Someone said, a friend of mine was like, "Oh, what movie's that?" I was like, "Oh, you want to see a movie that's ruined thousands, millions of people's lives?" And then they're like, "Shut up."
Right.
I was just joking with them.
Like, no, sit down and watch this. It's interesting.
Yeah. It is. It is interesting, and I mean, great movie, great cast, great actors and stuff. The reason why I like it, it's directed by one of my favorite directors, David Fincher, who directed Seven, Fight Club, and Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and he did this one. And Trent Reznor did the soundtrack, the music for the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? He remade one of my favorite songs. I don't know if you've. It's the "Is Your Love Strong Enough?" Because if you go back into the 80s, there was a movie called Legend. It had Tim Curry, Tom Cruise, and Mia Farrow in it.
Yes. I remember that movie.
And Brian Ferry did the song.
Yeah.
So when I saw the title, I'm like, are they remaking my song? And I was going to be really critical of it, but like, if you've heard the song where it's just her vocals, and there's nothing but, and then that beat drops, and I'm like, I usually don't like remakes. I don't like a whole lot of remakes, but that one hit me, and I'm like, I'm saving that.
That is awesome.
It's not gonna beat Brian Ferry with David Gilmour doing guitar. Because when he hits that, when that musical break hits, and you just hear that him open up the freaking guitar, and you see his hands, you're like, that's David Gilmour. That's his hands. That's his style. That's his sound. Like you said with Eddie, he has a sound. I'm like, if you've heard any Pink Floyd that really sometimes it's really rough, but it's very melodic. And he just has that. It just feels like you're under the ocean listening to it, and it just has those waves. If you've ever listened to David Gilmour play, you understand. You understand exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to look it up. I heard today on Sirius XM on Ozzy's Boneyard, someone did Ultimate Sinner. Marilyn Manson, We Are Halloween from Nightmare Before Christmas. I didn't know he covered that.
I love that remake.
I didn't know that. I was like, dude, this is cool. I let my 3-year-old watch that around Halloween time, because it's on Disney Plus, and she loved it.
It's just a fun movie. I'm like, I love every song on there. You're like,
yeah,
it fits the movie.
She liked Jack, and I always forget the female's name. Jack, Sally. She liked them. She didn't like Oogie Boogie. She said, "Daddy, I don't like Oogie Boogie. He's bad."
Some of the best people are bad.
I liked the 3 kids. There were
Lock, Shock, and Barrel. I do too, and I'm like, them little shits. You're like, yeah. I like them guys.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's one of my favorites there when it came out and stuff. I mean, it's a great movie. It reminds me, I need to watch that thing on Netflix. It's called The Holiday Movies That Made Us. They did one on Christmas movies. They have Elf and Nightmare Before Christmas. So those are 2 that they cover on that episode there. That special.
Is it that series, the toys that made us, the music that made us? I love the toy one.
Yeah.
They did a Transformers one, and I'm just like, yeah. And I hate to sound like a girly girl, but they did a My Little Pony one, and I'm like, this is my shit.
That's I mean, it's part of it there. I like the Masters of the Universe. That was my thing.
Oh, and they did one on wrestling too. They did one on like wrestling figures and stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I felt like I was fighting it. I'm like,
I have a friend. Who recently said that they started getting into collecting figures, and I told him, I said, "Dude, I have an Eddie Guerrero figure, but it came in a 2-pack. It was a 2-pack. It was like the last one my cousin got over for Christmas one year. It has Booker T and Eddie Guerrero. So I'm like, that's the only one I have. I have a old.
was it the WCW?
Well, no, it's WWE. Booker T and Eddie Guerrero. I have the what's the other one I have? I have WCW. I have a Hulk Hogan one, Sting with the bleach blonde hair. Those are the only two I have there. I have an NWO Wolfpack one with Sting. I have the 2-pack of Hulk Hogan, NWO, and Sting, black and white, for the Night of Champions or Clash of the Champions or Starrcade. When he won the title from Hogan, he brought it back to WCW.
Yeah.
Bret Hart was the special guest referee. I have that one, that pack there. I have the last WWE run of the Elite Series of CM Punk. I have that.
Oh,
one.
Nice.
I found that by accident. I was in where the hell was that? Walmart. Walked through Walmart.
Right, and you just like putzing around going.
Yeah. I was with my wife walking through the toy department there, and then boom, there it was. Actually, no, where did I find it? No, I found it in New Jersey. It was up in New Jersey. I was with my wife. She went back home there, and I went with her, and she was out at Kmart. Yeah, it was actually Kmart, New Jersey, up there in New Jersey, walking through there. I was like, let me look at the toy department. She's like, oh, you would play with the toys. I'm like, I started walking through. WWE stuff. Oh, cool. Boom, right there, just sitting right there. CM Punk. I was like,
that's another sign. You're like, the universe was looking out for me. They're like, you need this because you really, really want this. You should have this.
Yeah. I got it. And it was the last Elite Series because it was released in process of being put out already when he already quit. So it came out, and it was like the last one. So I got it. So that's right. Yeah, because after that, there's no more of him with that, with under the WWE logo. So I have one. So I was lucky about that. I got CM Punk. Badass Billy Gunn sitting up there looking at me. Yeah, that's when he broke off from DX. He has the green and the lip shorts when he,
Mr. Ass.
Yeah, Mr. Ass. Yeah.
I'm Ass Man.
Dun. Here, let me grab it. Check this out.
Right, man, I gotta see this. Nice.
I told you.
That's good shit, dude. That's good shit. You got the lip prints? Yep. Yeah, I liked his tights, man. Those were cool.
Yep, Mr. Ass.
I'm really glad that he's kept himself in really good shape because when he showed up on AEW, I'm like,
yeah,
that is not a man who's in his 50s. I mean, I'm like, he still looks like he's 40, like my age, and I'm like, he looks goddamn good. I'm like, I want to be Billy Gunn when I grow
up. He's in shape, man. He's in shape. I got his autograph on my wall there, him signing it. I met him at that wrestling show. I think it was July of 2018. I went there for the fact that Jim Cornette said, I'm only making one appearance in Florida this year, and that's at that wrestling event in July in Orlando. I was like,
yeah.
Dude, I'm going. And I was supposed to have my friend go with me.
I would be there just for Cornette. I'd be like,
yeah,
Jim Cornette, dude.
So I had a friend that was supposed to go with me. He's like, nah, I can't make it. I'm like, ah. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go. And my wife's like, yeah, you're going. I'm like, no, he's not going. Coming. He's like, no. She's like, I already bought you the meet and greet with him. I was like, fuck. I'm like, I got to go. So I went. I drove there by myself. It was at the Hilton there. Nice hotel. Found a place to park. Went down there. They had us all the way. They had it all the way down at the bottom there. I saw Jake Roberts. Didn't get a chance to talk with him. He was like in and out, gone.
Yeah.
Got to see Cornette, talked to him, got his autograph, got his figure up there signed. And
I love him so much.
yeah, I know. He's so controversial though, but I know it's Jim Cornette, man. He has a live mic in front of him, he becomes Jim Cornette. Behind off camera, he's Jim, just who he is. But I loved him, and then I met Mr. Ass, Billy Gunn. He was there, and I was talking with him, and I got to talk to him for a little bit. He's a great guy, nice guy, nicest guy you ever meet, man. Nicest guy.
Well, I hear he's really good to fans. So I'm like, all right, well, there's someone I actually kind of go out of my way to see.
Yeah, I asked him about it at the time. I said, "How do you feel about Dolph Ziggler doing the Famouser?" And he gave me his honest opinion about it, which was cool. What he said, one thing he said was, he's like, I'm flattered. He's like, but should I feel upset or something that he's using that move? He's like, come on. He's like, for example, look how many times DDT's been used.
Right.
Yeah. He's like, look how many times this has been done. He's like, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. He said, he don't get that much height like I do. And I said, honestly, I'm not saying it because you said this and you're here. I said, you get more height than he did. He goes, well, thank you.
Well, I mean, he got up there. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah. So that's my cool wrestling experience there. I mean, I met Rocky Johnson. I mentioned this before. He came to Daytona Beach at the comic book convention. He was there, Rocky Johnson. And I walked up there. He's like, hey, how's it going? I was like, pretty good. And I was looking at the pictures. He's like, pick whatever you want. I'll sign it. I was like, okay. He goes, see that one there? He's like, that's me and my son. And I looked and I was like, that's your son? He's like, yeah, that's my son. I was like, you're The Rock's dad? I was like ribbing him. He goes, am I The Rock's dad? He looked over his wife again. Is this guy serious? Is this guy serious? And I was like, you're The Rock's dad? I was like, Rock's your son? He's like, yeah. He's like, is this fool for real? And I was ribbing him. And I go, I know, I was just playing with you, man. He's like, He's like, which one do you want? Yeah. So
right. He's like, you gotta have fun with it.
The people are laughing. I was like, you're The Rock. I was like, you're The Rock's dad?
Like the young fan, you're like,
yeah. He looked and he's like, is this guy for real? Where'd he come from at? And I was like, I was playing along, and then he was like, I got the one where he's flexing there. And I said, I was just playing with you, man. I said that's great. I said, you're proud of him, aren't you? He goes, yes, I am. I'm proud of my son. I said, that's great. I said, that is good. I said, you're proud of everything he's become and accomplished? He said, yes. And I said, well, let me ask you one question. He's like, all right. I said, how did it feel for you when you and Tony Atlas won the tag team championships and becoming the first African-American tag team? He said, that was the greatest feeling of my life. And I was
nice.
like, that's all he said. I said, awesome. That's all he said. I was like,
and you're like, well, I see. You're like, well, that was a huge accomplishment. I'm like, you should feel good about that. I mean, yeah, it sounds like a cool dude.
yeah, I mean, when I heard he passed, I was like, damn, man. I was glad I got to meet him. And at that same convention, a year before that, I met Nikolai Volkov.
No way.
Yeah, I met him, and he passed, And then I met Rocky Johnson, and he passed. And I'm like,
You're like, I don't want to meet anybody else. I'm just going to stay home.
yeah. And then I met at Jimmy Hart's place when he was here in Daytona back at the beginning a year ago. 1 year ago, actually. I met, almost a year ago, I met Road Warrior Animal.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that... I don't want to talk shit, but that was okay, but it wasn't the best meeting of someone ever.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just recently, I haven't watched it yet, but I noticed the Dark Side of the Ring did a whole thing on the Road Warriors. I'm like, I gotta watch this. I really have to watch this because everyone's talking about it. And I'm like, I did catch a little bit of it, and he's like, Mike was it? And he's like, the guy was super intense, and I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see that. I'm like, for that character, for that time, I'm like, you kind of have to be. So I'm like, if you're not intense before, you got to train yourself.
Yeah.
To be intense, and
Right.
they were talking about like when they were up in Detroit and all that, and they were like getting in fights and shit, and I'm like, living the gimmick.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm I'm friends with JJ McGuire, so I talk to him quite a bit here and there. And when I mentioned that I was going to see Animal, he's like, oh yeah, let him know. And he told me about when he was at I think it was SummerSlam 91 or 92. Which one was it? Where it was 92, where they were in Wimbledon. That's where they had 90,000 people there, and the main event was Bret Hart versus Davey Boy Smith, British Bulldog, for the Intercontinental Championship. Is the main event.
That was a stupid good one. Oh my God.
Well, JJ was there, and that's when he was still doing the music, and he said, "Oh, I heard Animal's going to be up at JJ's," and I was like, "Yeah, it's going to be up at or not JJ's, Jimmy's," and he said, "Yeah, I heard he's going to be there." He's like, let him know that you talked to me and we're friends, and mentioned about that, and he told me about the time where they went out in 92 there at the place, and they drank each other underneath the table. I was like, okay, cool. So when I met him, I was like, because I was there with my friend, my friend Tommy, who's like a big guy, and he's a worker, and he still works, and we went up there because I was up. Like Tommy said to me, he goes, "Hey, you want to take a picture at Animal?" I was like,
"Okay,
yeah, I'll go up there." He's like, "I'll take it for you." I was like, "Okay." So we walked up there. He was like, "Hey," I was like, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Animal?" I was like, "Can I take a picture with you?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Who you here with?" And I go, "I'm here with this guy." And he looked over, and Tommy's a little bit. Maybe Tommy's a big guy. Tommy's like 6'1", 6'2", so he's tall. So he saw Tommy. He was like, "Oh, okay." He already met Tommy. He knew who he was. So we took a picture. I said, "Appreciate that, man." I said, JJ McGuire. I talked to him, and he says hi. He goes, "Oh, yeah, it's JJ, yeah." And I was like, "Yeah." JJ said that he wanted to say that he had a great time back in 92 when you guys were at Wimbledon there for SummerSlam 92. "Oh, yeah." And I started talking about that and what JJ was saying. He was like, yeah. And he just kind of like ignored me. So I was like talking. I'm like, okay. Right away, I picked it up. I'm like, okay, he really don't give a shit. So I was like, all right, thank you for the time and stuff. All right, yeah, no problem, yeah. And he just kind of went on. I'm like, whatever.
Okay.
So I hate to say that and bring that up. I know he passed away, but I have the picture on the computer. I never shared it because I was so upset about that.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, oh, well.
Yeah. When he passed away, I was like, no, I'm not going to share it because then I don't want to mention about the bad, interaction I had, and people's like,
So
"Oh, you passed."
it was after a show, or
He was at Jimmy's doing an appearance. At Jimmy
oh,
Hart's. Yeah,
okay,
Jimmy.
oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. Now I
Yeah,
got you.
yeah. Jimmy Hart had a place here in Daytona around Beachside. It was Jimmy Hart's Hall of Fame Bar and Grill, and
Yeah, okay.
yeah, I used to go in there, and Jimmy got to kind of know me from going there quite a bit, and I'd come in there because even my wife, when she was pregnant, she'd come in there with me, and we'd watch, wrestling and stuff. And even after my daughter was born, I showed him pictures and stuff. And every time I'd go in there, he'd go, "Hey, baby, how you doing?" He's like, "How's that baby girl of yours?" I said, "Growing." And I'd show him pictures. He's like, "Oh, that's great, baby. That is great. Come on, sit down. We're gonna watch some wrestling now. Come on, everyone, let's sit down. It's coming on." He was so down to earth and so genuine. You never meet anyone
That
like
sounds
that.
great.
Yeah, and Animal was there, and he was, made an appearance there, and he was taking some, pictures and stuff like that and stuff. I missed it when Zack Ryder was there. He came in. I missed that. Who else was there? Damn, I can't think. There was a few times where I missed a couple.
I'm sure a lot of people came through there. I mean,
Oh, yeah. Nash, he lives here in Florida. He lives.
oh yeah,
Yeah, Kevin Nash actually probably lives I'd say probably about 45 minutes from me.
nice.
Yeah. I've not seen the guy. My nephew and my brother have ran into him like 3 times. I've never run into the guy yet. Never run into him. My nephew ran into him at Target. He ran into him at Atlantic Sounds here in Daytona, a vinyl store. He said he walked in. They had the door open one day. He walked in, and he was looking through some vinyls. The sun was shining, and all of a sudden, it just got dark. And he was like, "Is it stormy?" He turned around, and there's 6-foot-tall Kevin Nash sitting there in the doorway. He's like, "Hey, Mr. Nash." He's like, "Hey, what's up?" And, and he just walks in and starts browsing around, My brother ran into him at ABC Liquor. He was pushing a whole shopping cart full of wine up to the front.
It's like, oh, he's gonna have a party. I mean, that's when you gotta go. Hey, when's the party?
But yeah, but it was funny because when my brother was in there grabbing something, and Nash was up there, and people were like, and they're like, he's like looking up, the line there, and he's like, hearing people in the back, and he's like, "Who is that guy up there? He looks familiar." And then my brother turned around, and he's like, "That's a wrestler." And you're like, "Who?" And he's like, "Kevin Nash." "Oh, that's Kevin Nash. It's like, it's like, you go up there and say, it's like, my brother's like, "I'll go up there and say hey to him." So he walked up, he's like, "Hey, Mr. Nash, how you doing?" He's like, "Oh, pretty good, man." He's like, "Find some wine?" "Yeah." He's like, "All right, cool, man. I just want to say hi, That's how my brother was, and Nash was like, "Okay." Ran into him at the airport one time. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh, pretty good." Same thing.
You're like, we gotta stop meeting like this. People are gonna start talking.
Yeah, my what was it? My nephew sent me a picture. He was in Target, and all of a sudden my phone went off one day. And I looked, and he's like, "There he is." And I'm like, I knew it was Nash, so I was like, I'm gonna mess with him. I was like, "Who's this?" And he's like, "Who do you think?" And I was like, he was like, "Nash." And I go, "Nash Bridges?" And he's like, "No."
Wow.
He got mad at me. He didn't text me for like 3 days. He didn't contact me. I pissed him off. I ripped him.
Because I would have been like bangers and that. I would have been off on it.
Yeah. So that
It's like,
that
all right,
happened.
what sounds like? It's like, all right, what sounds like Nash? And I would have just been like, open the floodgate. Like, I'm weird like that. So, like somebody will text me something, and I'll be in a quirky mood, and I'll be like, "Do you mean like this? No. Do you mean like this?" It just It's like a sketch comedy every time someone texts me, and I'm like, I got to keep my mind sharp, you know. I'm like,
That's great. That is great.
is that a bowl of mashed potatoes?
Damn. This has been great, man. This has been great. I know, like you said earlier, you don't have much going on and stuff, and still hitting the ring, getting the ring rust off, and getting ready just in case of anything happens.
It's a whole show.
Yeah, but I enjoyed this definitely as always. Just enjoyed talking with you, bullshitting with you, and stuff. And you're on.
I'm full of musical references, knowledge, cheap puns. I mean, you name it, I can probably think it up on the fly. I'm like, oh,
I love cheap
give me
puns.
material. I'm like, all right, we're gonna make a show out of this.
I love cheap puns. I do that at my job there. People's roll their eyes. Are like, oh God, he's at it again. It's like, yes, I am.
It's like, you're like, hashtag dad jokes.
Where you at on social media?
Right now, just on Facebook. I was gonna actually use last year to maybe, like, a lot of people have started like a Patreon and this and that, and I'm like, I don't really have enough. I've just kind of felt like I didn't have enough to like start one. Right. And then when everything came to a halt, I'm like, well, I'm definitely not going to start it now. I'm like, I'll wait till everything kind of clears up.
Yeah.
Kind of see where the market is, and then kind of go from there, like with a Patreon or, oh God, there was like another service, and I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. But right now, it's just Facebook, the Amazing Amazon, Natasha Crane. I would say go to my YouTube channel, but I haven't posted anything new in a while. So I'm like, you can go to my YouTube channel. God, what was it? Natasha Crane, I think it is. But I have a lot of links to my YouTube on my Facebook page. So I mean, like, if you just go to my Facebook page, it's a fans page. You can pretty much access anything there. You don't have to have like an account or anything. Just find me. And it's I'm making that face. I mean, you can't miss my face. I'm very. You can pick me out of a crowd. Let's just say.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Natasha, for coming back on. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Definitely. Hopefully I'll have some more stories and whatnot to tell. But yeah, 2020's been dry, so maybe by the end of the year I'll have some good stuff. I don't know. We'll have to kind of see how that plays out, right?
Yeah, definitely. 2021 is going to look up. Definitely going to look up.
Either that or we're going to get the little bitch drunk.
All right. I'm going to end it right there on that there.
The last thing you hear is, you're that or we're going to get the little bitch drunk. As I'm taking a drink of water, you're like, fuck.
All right. Thank you, Natasha Crane, the Amazing Amazon, Natasha Crane, for coming back on the Everett Lee Show. Great conversation, great times, as always. And before I end and wrap up this podcast and take it home, one thing I got to mention, the Everett Lee Show has merchandise. I'm back with merchandise this time. Not doing it on my own. Podcast City Network. Head over to the shop section, and you'll be able to purchase Everett Lee Show merchandise. You should see the post up on the social media of the Everett Lee over on Facebook, the Everett Lee Show. Give a follow, give a thumbs up. You can follow more Everett Lee, myself, over on Twitter at the Everett Lore Score Lee, Instagram Everett Lee Show, and on YouTube on Podcast City Network. Just look up Everett Lee Show. You'll be able to find me on there. And over on Podcast City Network, your official top source for independent podcasting. Be creative, be yourself, And happy 3-year anniversary to Podcast City Network. Great 3 years, great shows. The lineup of the shows just get better and better. PCN Sports has lined up with a lot of great new content. Besides Final Score, now we have Not a Hockey Market Podcast. Shout out to that show. And the Rip Griffin Show. Baseball. Baseball's going to be starting up soon. So you want to get the opinions and everything there is to do with MLB. Make sure you listen to the Rip Griffin Show, officially now on Podcast City Network. And be sure to head over to their Facebook page, Podcast City Network. Give them a follow and a thumbs up for announcements for new shows, merchandise, and much, much more over there on the Facebook page. And follow them on Twitter at Podcast City Net. Be sure to subscribe and follow them on YouTube, Podcast City Network. And that's it. I want to wish you all a happy, great day, and see you next time on another episode of The Everett Lee Show.